We couldn't charge them that.
Yep.
It would be
All righty, phone the neighbors, wake the kids. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this time to do business at Barling Board. Give us wisdom in making our decisions. Help our country. We pray for our leaders. Continue to bless us, Lord. And we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, afternoon, everybody. Let's do a roll call.
Aaron Rowe. John Manis.
Here.
Poncho Davis.
Here.
Marcia Parker.
Here.
Bill Polly.
Here.
Bill Young.
Here.
Ron Sharon.
All right, we've got a quorum. Has everybody been able to read the minutes of May 12th? If so, we'd like a motion to approve those minutes as written.
Make that motion.
Got a motion, do I have a second? We got a second by Mr. Bill. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same. All right, the ayes have it. Anybody from the public like to talk about anything on the agenda? No? All right, unfinished business, consideration of the tabled First National Bank 10-year lease renewal agreement for the ATM at 307 Fort Street. Mr. Steve?
If you look at the print that you have there with the green stripe on, that is the most beaten up, worn out area. And the bank was based on what we got for the prices for the overlay here in town. And so we'll go from there.
Is
I got a question, Steve. While they're doing this, what is gonna be our part for paving the rest of it?
Based on that size, it'd be about $75,000 to pave the rest of it.
But they're doing just this in the green, right? Okay.
What are your thoughts on
I'd take it because it's always been rutted, and what you all may or may not
that?
know.
No, I'm talking about the remainder.
Remainder,
The remainder of the parking lot.
the remainder of the parking lot, it's not had the wear and tear that the other has. And I think it will continue to make do with what we've got. If you look at the aerial, you can see the distressed areas in the satellite photo here. And that's probably the better deal that we can make in the deal. Let's not try to fix what's not broken.
I noticed some potholes here and here. Get those patched while they're at it?
All right, any other questions for Steve? Do we need to make a motion and a vote for it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anybody want to make a motion to, for the First National Bank 10-year lease renewal and agreement?
I make a motion if they repair the area in green, that we allow them to have a 10-year lease on the machine.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, roll call vote.
Aaron Rowe. Excuse me. John Manis.
Yes.
Poncho Davis.
Yes.
Marcia Parker.
Yes.
Ken Collie.
Yes.
Bill Young.
Yes.
Ron Sharon.
Yes.
All right, we'll get that agreement going around. All righty, and that's it of the unfinished business. Let's go on to new business. Cliff Cabanis, come on down. You're gonna give us a little presentation about Ebbing 82.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for letting me have just a few minutes. This today, I talked to Steve, and I felt like because this is such a large-scale project, that I wanted to just prepare packets for the planning meeting, for the planning commission, and then also for you guys. This requires no vote today. I don't know that there even needs to be some discussion, but I'm gonna stay here in case there's any questions. Essentially, I guess to land the airplane without going into a whole lot of information. I mean, you guys have had the package. You can kind of read my narrative here, but essentially they had 10 developers in the And those got narrowed down and narrowed down and narrowed down, and they have invited my company to go to Luke Air Force Base on the 22nd, 3rd, and 4th to present, I don't know, some of them are saying 1,000 people, some of them are saying 3,000. The more it gets, the more my staff is saying they're not gonna get on stage and say anything. So I guess I gotta do the presentation, but because of, the scope of this and because it's a $20 million project that we're about to embark on and ask the bank for, we didn't wanna do anything up to include go to Luke Air Force Base and get 150 leases signed, because the government is ready to do that. They need housing for a 500 at a minimum. I've given you guys some really confidential information here. I would ask you to hold on to that when it comes to when they're coming and what's happening, because if the infrastructure gets backed up a little bit on the base, then these timelines move back a little bit. And so the government doesn't want this information to get out to the public, so they think if something moves back 6 months, it's not happening. And that's the narrative that gets out there, I think, when things don't show up. But essentially, the last time I was here, I think I had about 50 citizens ready to wring my neck, and I had the media here, and we were doing a little 25 duplex development called Forest Wade. It was a little infill development, and I think there was concerns about traffic. There was concern about, police presence, having to deal with renters and all of that. We built a really neat little place in there. I've got a 54-person waiting list for that property. We still rent those for $10.95 and $9.95. What's missing in the River Valley is workforce housing and affordable housing. Because I'm partners with Steve Gann and Todd Mooney, we're able to build wholesale, and we construct for about $93 a foot. And so what I'm able to do is pass that on to my tenants to keep my rents in a place to where it makes sense for them and it makes sense for us, and it's kind of a win-win that way. Well, the 3 developers that have been invited are Mark Roush. I'll just let you guys know that they're building some black and white, very kind of contemporary townhomes on the interstate by Target. Right off the interstate, the white and black development. And those are renting for about $2,350 to about $2,600. The government of Singapore, which needs a little over 500 places, have told me that the pilots can get a stipend of about $2,500 for housing, but for every plane that comes in, the F-16 and the F-35, there's up to 12 people that support that pilot, but those kids are privates and corporals, and they get anywhere from $550 to $950. So what they're asking me to do is build 2 and 3 bedroom duplexes in this development. Now, I want to first of all start out by saying I don't need any military presence to fill these up. I have 50 on a waiting list. These are 2 blocks from Forest Wade, which won Neighborhood of the Year in 2022. I think that was voted on by you guys, and I want to thank you for your trust in us to build what we said we would, and I don't think we've got a lot of police issues over there. I think it's a very quiet little neighborhood. I have 3 really dear friends that I go to church with that live there, and they just love it, and everybody kind of gets along. And what I've noticed is, because I live on Moody in that development, is that, part of the people work nights and they sleep during the day, and some of the people work shift work, and I go in there every other day probably to drive the property and make sure there's no trash. And I don't know that I've ever seen someone coming out of that development, coming my way as I go in. So we really don't have a traffic problem there. But anyway, so if you look at Mark, I was going to tell you, Mark Roush is the other developer, and then Rick Griffin is the second developer. And Rick and them are building duplexes behind behind the Links Apartments in Fort Smith. Well, I really want to bring these people to Barling. Like I said, I don't have to have the military presence there because I've got 50-something on a waiting list for these $900 to $1,100 duplexes, because Rick's duplexes are $1,700. Mark's places are like $2,200 to $2,600, and I'm bringing stuff to the market in the $1,100 range. Now, what I'm proposing, if you look at the Yellowstone at the Ranch pamphlet, and go all the way to the back, I think it is, there's a tentative spot right there on 15 or 18 acres called Paradise Valley. And so if you'll look at Paradise Valley, one thing I want you to note is we have made major accommodations for fire trucks and emergency personnel by having 1, 2, 3 directions of egress, degress, and we actually have a 4th, because if you go east, you can go into the Magnolias subdivision and then go back out the other subdivision, and you're almost near peak innovation. So there's about 4 ways. They can go north out of this development and go to 22. They can go north out of this development and go down to Mazar, going down Moody Road. They can come south out of the development and come down by the 1-acre lots, and they can be on Painter then and hit peak innovation and 5-lane 0. And then they can do the same by going back through the Magnolias. So we've got 4 ways to get in and out and about. The reason that this plan was drawn like this, if you'll look at this one, okay, the layout. The reason this was done like that is we've already spent $500,000 putting sewer under the ground for this dirt right here. And we did that, as we told you guys in the very beginning of this development. We're sold out of our houses in the Magnolias housing division. I don't have any lots for sale. Yellowstone, we just pulled permits, I think. We're 100% occupied and have a waiting list there, and those rent for $14.95, which is still a good rate for a gated community. But we're going to start building those in 5 at a time. So when we go to Luke Air Force Base, we're going to be showcasing some of the houses in Magnolias that people are renting. We're going to showcase Yellowstone, which is the gated duplex community. They're black and white, and they're really clean and sharp. They're all granite. And we've tried to keep the rents at $14.95 and stay out of that $1,800 to $2,200 range. And it serves us well because we've got a waiting list everywhere. I think we can make a little more money going up on our rents, but I really want to focus on workforce housing and affordable housing in that $1,100 range, because really everybody is building stuff that's outrageous right now because their cost of construction is so high. And again, I'm being transparent with you guys. We've got a team together that owns Lumber One, the lumber yard, and also door shop, window shop. Lumber One in Van Buren is owned by Steve Gann, and he's my partner, so I get a pretty good deal on stuff. And so we're allowed to pass that on. So what we're proposing, we sent this to Ron Brixey to do an overlay, and I've done just enough at this point to show this overlay and this overlay, so we cannot move any sewer lines. So it worked out just fine the way we got it all laid in here. Now, I will tell you, on Yellowstone Drive, we're going to lose 2 or 3 of those duplexes. Yellowstone Drive is at the bottom of this exhibit right here, okay, on the actual layout. Okay, Yellowstone Drive is going to be at the very bottom of the engineering overlay. And what we're going to do is we're building a $500,000 clubhouse, swimming pool, and 2 pickleball courts that will be the centerpiece to this. And then we're going to build duplexes onto the back. So coming in from the greenhouse on Moody that you've seen, we took a 100-year-old house and renovated it, and we brought it we went to the basement and built it basically new again with new electric and water and all that stuff. That greenhouse is going to be our construction entrance. Along Yellowstone Drive is going to be our clubhouse, pool, pickleball courts, and all that. And then we're going to start building the duplexes on Yellowstone Drive. That way, the tenants that are there will will not be interfered with as construction traffic comes in off the north. What we're gonna try to do is kind of triage this thing a little bit, because this takes a year to develop roads, curb and gutter, water, electric, cable, and all that, guys. I don't have a year. They're telling me, our first tenancy they're talking about, and they're wanting to sign leases. The government's wanting to sign letters of intent, and then the soldiers are wanting to do that. Plus, I've got, again, 50 on a waiting list. But what I was gonna say was, we are trying to fast track this thing, and so what I wanna do is just focus on roads and tie into my sewer and water, and then I wanna put stop valves and do what I can to be able to go ahead and permit 10 or 15 duplexes that I'm gonna have pre-leased. And then at that point, what I'm telling you is we're gonna phase this in. We can't build 75 duplexes. It'd take us 2.5 years to do that. I'm gonna see how many leases I come back with from Luke Air Force Base, and that's gonna determine, do I rent to the market rate renter, or do I take care of the soldiers? I will tell you that I'm a little nervous about the military stuff, and here's why. The generals, I mean, I'm talking to 4- and 5-star Singaporean generals that speak great English, and they seem to be great men, and this group seems to have great integrity. But they said, if we go to Raggio and we go to the airport and they're a little behind on the infrastructure, we're gonna begin moving our troop dates back. Well, if I build all this out and it's a $20 million deal and I'm servicing $120,000 a month in interest carry, it'll kill me here, because I won't make $120,000 annually. I won't make it every 2 years. So what I've got to do is have an out clause on my lease. If they sign a lease and they decide to back everything up, I've got to have an out clause so I can rent to the general public, which I have on a waiting list. So, and I'm going to try to do both of those. But again, these are going to be phased in, so we don't just overwhelm anybody with everything. But I need to just have lower infrastructure and interest carry costs. So I'm going to try to bring if it makes sense, we're going to start a development from the south, start with a clubhouse and the amenities, build the first 20 duplexes there, and then as those get accounted for and rented up, we're going to begin rolling them out 5 or 10 at a time. So this is going to be called the Paradise Valley at the ranch. We've maintained the ranch themes, so we have magnolias at the ranch, Yellowstone at the ranch, and Paradise Valley. The Singaporeans were really excited when I told them about Yellowstone, and the generals asked if Beth was going to be there. And I said, no, Beth is not included in this development. I didn't even know people in Singapore knew about Beth, but apparently they do. So, but this is called Beth Drive and Rip Trail, so that's the name of the road. But,
Well, they may visit it one day, you don't know.
well, I said, I've got a road, but I can't guarantee Beth is gonna be there. So that was quite a funny thing for me to hear as I spoke to 500 of them in the very beginning. But I'm excited that my company's been invited to be one of the 3 developers to do this. I'm excited for the fact that we can bring this to Barling and bring the highest majority to Barling, because I'm gonna tell you something. Mark Roush, I like Mark, and I want all developers to do well, but those white and black places, they're not renting them. They're not renting them right now. I mean, they've gone down 100, they've gone down another 100, they've gone down another 100, and they're having a little trouble renting them. So he's gonna be tailoring to a really tight piece of the pie, and we really need affordable housing. And I'd really like to get 100 to 150 of these people in Barling. So is that all you need from me? I wanted to give you the narrative, I wanted to give you the engineering plat, I wanted to give you the printout that shows where it's gonna be, and if you look, it's gonna be that blue square right there. Yes, sir. And then, you've got the plat of the deal. Now, it looks like, after talking to Steve, we're gonna have to kind of hash out some stuff with the planning committee, and then I days of that planning committee, and I need to know that you guys are gonna let me do this, because I've got 10 people, and I've spent $14,000 on airfare just to go do a presentation at Luke Air Force Base. If for some reason this board and the planning commission doesn't want me to do this project, I'm not going to speak before Luke Air Force Base, and I'm gonna recoup that $14,000 in airfare, and my whole office is going to help do the presentation. Then we've gotta set up booths in the back and give them brochures and try to have translators and explain to them that, you know, this is what our lease says and all the dynamics of that. So I'll do a PowerPoint presentation with this scenario, and then we'll do 3 hours of a question and answer where they'll actually sign the leases. And they are gonna have a military attorneys there. And I just don't wanna go to Luke Air Force Base if I can't get planning and we can't get an upvote for the next board meeting. And that's why I wanted to give, respectfully, I wanted to give all of you these packets a meeting early, before the board met for a vote next month. So, unless y'all got questions for me, I've got all night. So
I do have one.
Okay, go ahead.
I know in the renting culture that we have nowadays, when you make rent the way you're wanting to do it, I know there's a lot of people that will move people in, rent a 3-bedroom duplex, and it's not a single-family home. It's a 3 or 4 different people that move into this place, and it creates a traffic issue. I'm thinking one right now in my neighborhood that's like that. They're parking all over the yard, they're parking in the streets, and
That's a big problem.
and we don't want that. If they're single-family homes, then that's great, but are we gonna have 6 soldiers living in a 3-bedroom house?
No, my lease and underwriting and management does not allow anything like that. There'll never be more than 3 cars. Typically, for every 3-bedroom, there's usually 2 cars, because it's usually, and will be in Singapore, they might not even have cars here. Part of the thing they're looking for is to make sure we have a bus stop, and the bus stop's right at the front of my development, and I've got a bench there for the children. They have already communicated that they're not gonna be bringing many cars, if probably usually 1 per family. And so typically, from what I understand, is that the 2 bedrooms are gonna be 2 privates or 2 young-term military personnel that will share a 2-bedroom, 1 and 1. Our parking is gonna be 1 and 1 and 3 spaces for a 3, and we just don't allow over occupancy of our buildings. And we do quarterly pest control, and we also inspect every one of our fire alarms, as well as we change out our air conditioning filters every 6 months. And so when we do pest control, we check the batteries on our fire alarms while they're doing that, and our managers go in and they've got a checklist I expect them to do. If it looks like there's more than 3 or 4 occupants, now sometimes it'll be a mom, dad, and 2 kids.
Sure.
So, you know.
Absolutely.
But if it looks like it's part of the community that wants to put 9 or 10 people in a building, they'll be evicted within 2 weeks out of one of my properties. I own 2,000 rentals, and we just don't operate that way, because if we do, you get cars parked in the road. We don't allow parking on the road. You get cars parked in a yard. I never have anyone parked in my yard on any of the properties that I have. And if we find a trailer or a car parked in the yard, they've got a notice to vacate the next day. And I mean, it's a 10-day warning first, but we just don't operate that way. But Bill, that's a great question and can be a terrible problem with larger rental properties if they're not managed appropriately.
Well, thank you for that.
Any other questions?
Cliff,
Yes, sir.
is the 4-way at Yellowstone Drive and Rip Trail, is that gonna be a roundabout?
No, we're not doing a roundabout. That was initially put in before anything was developed right there. That's just gonna be
Gotcha.
I'm afraid a roundabout right in there would be a little more confusing than it would be just having stop signs.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
don't.
That's what
yeah,
it showed. I'm glad you asked that question. If y'all zoom in, it shows a little circle. We
if
do
it's
not intend to have a roundabout.
I mean, if it's a roundabout, a 40-foot long, 9-foot wide ladder truck's not gonna,
Yeah,
not gonna fit.
It's hard to make them go in a circle, I understand. So no, sir, that's gonna be just a regular, if you drive up the ranch, you'll see a nice wide road coming in and out. And again, we have 4 ways in, 4 ways out. And we believe these people will be going to 22 to Van Buren. We believe they'll be hitting 5-lane 0. We believe some of them will be moving out west towards Mazard, and then again, through this other development to the southeast, they can even move in and come out kind of towards peak innovation.
Do you two gentlemen see any problem with any of this?
Yeah, this would be just kind of, Mayor Murray, again, I'm here to answer any questions, but again, this is just kind of off the cuff stuff today, and I want to give you some time to look at it and absorb it and make sure that we get this thing approved before I have to go in 4 weeks, because if we can't, I am fast tracking the engineering with Brixie Engineering. I'm fast tracking utility. I mean, I'm calling for that stuff because OG&E held me up on my subdivision for a year and a half, and rates went from 4 to 8 during that year and a half period, and it about killed me. So I had to discount my lots and sell 41 of them to D.H. Horton, who's a massive home builder. And we have covenants in place to where they've got to build the right kind of home with the right kind of material and that sort of thing. They're not going to come in there with a bunch of, cheap spec homes. And Ken, you can attest to that. When you get that in a development and it's set in stone on the POA, we protect the neighborhoods by having the quality of masonry and all of that. So I think if you drive through that neighborhood, you'll see some of those houses. I built 2 and sold them for my kids, and they're selling anywhere from $350 to $375, sometimes $380, and the appraisals are anywhere from $180 a foot to $205 a foot. So they're quality construction, and they're pretty high priced products for our area.
Everything I've done as far as appraising for Cliff has been very good. And I deal with the customers, and after he sold them and everything like that, he's got a very good reputation. I'd bet
Mr. Colley, I appreciate you saying that. We like to think that our history will dictate our future, and we have certainly caught a lot of flack in this room by looking at Forest Way in that little neighborhood. And, then we won an award, and hopefully the police department and the fire department, hopefully we can all agree that there's really not been much trouble or problems there, because we screen our tenants for credit report, state and federal crime and regulation. It's a national search. And if there's any sort of drug activity, if there's any sort of abuse of a child, if there's any kind of felony, any time in their lifetime, we just won't rent to them. And so we do a lot of our due diligence on the front end to get a quality neighborhood put together. It's too much money for my partners and I to invest for us to not do the due diligence on the front end. So, any more questions? No, they'll be individually metered. Yeah, so they'll pay, now I will tell you this, the government, Singapore, and the government wants us to do all bills paid. So. Would you be willing to do that type of deal? Oh, no. No, I'd prefer not to, because that causes a tremendous workload on my accounting department. I would almost have to hire another $60,000 person to handle more bill pay.
Us as well. I mean, we found with rentals here though, I mean, I could have a full person on staff doing nothing but deposits, refunded, new applications.
That's a lot.
Since the rentals have picked up so insane, I mean, the checks we're getting back every week, I mean, I'm
they've not cleared the bank, so you can't do your bank recs. And
It's
under-
been,
Yeah.
it's been terrible.
I will tell you, if I end up with 150 leases, we're full here, and they're gonna be all utilities paid for the government. They've got a 20-year, I mean, this is not like Finland and Poland, ladies and gentlemen. Singapore is coming to this area, and they will be entrenched for quite some time. Therefore, they want these units to be a one-stop shop where they don't know how to get downtown and put deposits in. They don't know how to do all that. So I'm offering rents at $1,100 plus $300. $100 for water, water and sewer, $100 for utilities, and they may spend $170 in utilities for all I know. But I'm just doing $100 for cable, television, all of that. And that's a value, because I don't know, my cable's $295 at home, and my water's always more than $100. But I'm gonna do the rent plus $300 for a utility package. And I think, based on our preliminary meetings, that they are gonna jump on this price set of $1,100 and be all in for $1,395 or $1,400. That's gonna mean that they pay all the units.
Fill up in a day. That's,
Yeah.
that's a good deal.
Okay, you need to wrap him up there.
Yeah, I really think with the growth, I believe Barling's gonna grow 10 or 12,000 people over the next 10 years. I personally believe in this city, and I believe it's gonna be tremendous. We do need affordable housing, we do need affordable rentals, but there's also more homes being built. So exactly what you're saying.
Phoenix,
it's
Phoenix,
almost
Arizona.
required
Phoenix,
at
Arizona.
some point to hire someone, because
Happy
just
month.
because of the
Yeah,
exponential
that's
growth
good.
that we're seeing.
Thank you.
in Barling.
Hey, Cliff, don't mean to
That's
cut
good.
you off, but I think it's the greatest thing, the proposal and all that. We'll just have to run it through planning and all that, and appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Great to see y'all again. We'll see you.
All righty, let's move right along here. Consideration of ordinance 531, adopting and approving the City of Barling Administrative Handbook. Who would like to talk about it? Megan, you want to come up and talk about that?
Megan, make sure
We haven't updated the handbook since 2022, and I have several things in here. Lots of them are from the municipal league, just legally. We'll just kind of go through page by page. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. The blue is things I've updated or added in. I added in a little section from the legal team that they said we should for the equal employment opportunity, ADA compliance section. On page 3 was the technology and AI use policy. That's a new, they're making that a law. We have to have that in our policy and handbooks now. The AI has got, and that is word for word from the municipal league, what they said we should add in there to make sure we're covered for everything. Go on to page, outside employment, I added in a little sentence that we'll keep those records in the HR department. Unauthorized work time, that's for, that's more for overtime, things that you have to get that approved ahead of time, or you don't get paid overtime. The retirement on page 9, nothing's changed, we just haven't had it in our handbook. Our retirement plans, I'm not asking for any change or anything, but that non-uniformed employees, we have ICMA, we contribute 3%, they contribute 3%, and then the uniformed employees have lot fee, and the rates are mandated by the state. I added full-time to a couple little sentences on page 10 that didn't specify that those benefits are only for full-time, just to cover us later in case anyone tried to say anything. Same thing on page 13, part-time, temporary, seasonal are not eligible for paid holidays. Event pay, I added this in mainly for July 3rd. We've always done overtime for July 3rd with a holiday. The auditors year before last mentioned it, that they didn't, because it's a holiday, they're like, well, you need to specify in your handbook that you're gonna pay time and a half instead of straight time for that. They didn't write us up, but they said they preferred that we have that specifically stated in there, that we would do that. So I'm not changing anything. We've always paid time and a half for the nighttime, July 3rd, that we stay out there till midnight, but they preferred that we have it in our handbook. And then I had to add in a big section for FMLA. We've had a few instances with employees in FMLA, and the municipal league suggested that our policy go way more in depth than what it currently was to cover us. On page 19 is our drug testing policy. I added in a sentence for that employees who drive city vehicles will be drug tested, apart from code enforcement, because he has his own law that states that code enforcement officers are not allowed to be drug tested. And no idea why, but I added that in there. Inclement weather policy for the rare occasion that the city administrator closes the office. Rarely ever does he, because Steve will come in an ice storm, but that's just in there that he can if need be. And I added in a little section to our travel policy that now we have those, we have travel cards. We've had them for several years. We've just never had it in writing. Instead of doing per diem checks, we preload the travel card, and it expires after a couple days, only a certain amount. And that's all I have. Not many changes, just a couple things we've already done that weren't specifically in writing that I felt, in case someone questioned it one day, we should get on paper. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? Yes, tomorrow morning we will print these out, and I'll have them all, they have to sign a new copy for the new revised version. I'll put it in their personnel files.
Any other questions? If no, we'd like a motion to place this ordinance on its first reading.
Make that motion.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
John Manus,
Yes.
Pancho Davis,
Yes.
Marcia Parker.
Yes.
Ken Collie.
Yes.
Bill Young, Ron Sherem.
Yes.
All righty, ordinance number 531, an ordinance adopting and approving the City of Barling Administrative Handbook, repealing and replacing ordinance number 488, declaring an emergency herein and for other purposes. Whereas the policies and procedures of the City of Barling Administrative Handbook are presently governed by ordinance 488, and whereas the Board of Directors of the City of Barling desire to make certain changes to the present City of Barling Administrative Handbook, and whereas it is further desire of the City of Barling Board of Directors to consolidate and streamline multiple ordinances into one comprehensive ordinance covering any given topic. Be it ordained and enacted by the Board of Directors of the City of Barling, Arkansas, that, Section 1, the City of Barling Board of Directors hereby adopts the most recent version of the City of Barling Administrative Handbook, Board approved May 26, 2026. Section 2, all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed, specifically ordinance number 488. Section 3, should any portion of this ordinance or the concurrent version of the City of Barling Administrative Handbook be determined to be unconstitutional or invalid, and so declared by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining parts of and provisions of this ordinance and the City of Barling Administrative Handbook shall remain in place. Section 4, the enactment of this ordinance would ensure the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the public in the City of Barling, Arkansas, so that an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage. Passed and approved this 26th day of May, 2026. Greg Murray, Mayor, attested to by Florine Brown, City Clerk. All right. Can I get a motion to suspend the rules for reading 3 times?
Make that motion.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second, can I get a roll call vote?
John Manus.
Yes.
Pancho Davis.
Yes.
Marcia Parker.
Yes.
Ken Collie. Bill
Yes.
Young, Ron Sherem.
Yes.
All right, any questions or discussion about the ordinance? If not, we'd like a motion to approve the ordinance.
Move that we approve the ordinance.
Got a motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second, roll call vote, please.
John Manus.
Yes.
Pancho Davis.
Yes.
Marcia Parker.
Yes.
Ken Collie.
Yes.
Bill Young. Ron Cheryl.
Yes. Can we get a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
Make that motion.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ron. Roll call vote again.
John Manus.
Yes.
Pancho Davis.
Yes.
Marcia Parker.
Yes.
Ken Collie.
Yes.
Bill Young. Ron Cheryl.
Yes.
All righty. Got a new handbook. All right, moving right along. Consideration of ordinance number 532 regarding door-to-door sales. Matt, do you have that for us? or-
Well, I want to talk about it. We had kicked this around a couple of years ago. And I just want to make sure we're all still on the same page about what we talked about 2 years ago. We got board members that weren't here when we last talked about this. So my notes tell me that the tentative agreement was that y'all had agreed for it to be year-round, that it would be no earlier than 9 o'clock in the morning, and it would be no later than 5 o'clock in the evening, and there would be no solicitation allowed on Sunday. The cost would be $150 per person for a 3-day registration, meaning you had 72 hours for that, but if you wanted to blanket the city with half a dozen people, representatives from your company, then it would be per person, so $150 for each person that gets to go door to door. This is editing and amending ordinances 352, which just changed the time and the amount. But the real ordinance that we started with is, that's still on the book so far as I know, is 135, which was passed in 1982.
That was a good year.
Well, I was, at that time, I think I was maybe in the 7th grade, perhaps the 6th grade. Bill, you must have been in the 8th grade at that time.
I
So
was in 82.
82.
I was a junior.
You were a junior, okay. So anyway, this is an old ordinance. We had talked to, and I didn't see any notes about it. We had talked at the time, I remember, about signage, and that each citizen would be entitled, if they wanted to, if y'all, those who were around that remember this, remember we talked about a sign that the city would provide at its expense, that you would be able to put on the door or in a front window or someplace that was clear and visible, that if you didn't want anybody at your house,
You put that out there and it was.
we would have that, and that was the, was the lamb's blood over the doorpost, so to speak.
This all, I believe,
We've got
Remember
the
we
signs.
talked-
yeah, the argument came with that we go to get signatures.
Yeah, that's where the problem is
That's
at.
where it came in at, when we all go to get our petition signed.
No
Everybody's got-
soliciting,
If
you know.
everybody's got,
Yeah,
if everybody got a sign
I
up.
remember, I'm just saying, it's been a couple of years, and there was a lot of talk about that, and I just wanna know where we are now before and I've got it mostly cobbled together, but in working on it, I thought, I got a lot of questions, cause we've all slept since the last time we really talked in earnest about this. So where are we with, and I remember that was an issue, that, well, what does that do for people that live in the ward? If they've got a sign up, I guess I can't go knock on that door.
We have
Well,
those
we-
signs at this, we hand them out, I just gave Aaron Rowland at the last board meeting, we did get those signed, and we do give
There-
citizens on a regular basis.
There's several people around town's got them up.
So we have the signs and people have them up, we just don't have an ordinance that does that.
Are we having a large problem with this?
Yes,
Yeah,
We are?
yes.
yeah.
Really?
We haven't been able to do our jobs the last 3 weeks, it's been insane, the phones are ringing.
All these roofers and all these people out here like it, yes.
We've been doing background checks, I've had PD doing 10 background checks a day. I've had the roofers in there arguing with Flo for 45 minutes at a time because it's not in our ordinance, we can't enforce things, and our phones are ringing off the hook with citizens furious because they say they're getting 20 knocks a day, like
Yeah.
all day long.
And I thought that they were supposed to register with the city, the people, the roofers.
They are required to, and I've had PD chasing them down, but they can only do so much, and they're bouncing all over town trying to find them, I mean, it's.
Using a lot of our
It's
resources.
a big situation
I
right
mean,
now.
we used to spend all of our resources.
We haven't, like I said, there is an existing ordinance. It's over 40 years old.
Yeah, it's,
But we have an existing ordinance about having to register and do all that, and the ordinance that changed it in '09 simply affected the time and the dollar amount. Everything else is still the same, but again, as I was reading this and going over I've got the recorded minutes of the meeting and all that, it just started bringing all this up, and I thought, well, we had a lot more going on than that. We had signs, we had.
So
you know,
are we
there was
needing
the
to
vote-
put,
There was the canvassing question about canvassing your ward, and
are we needing to put in about the signs that they have posted in the yards into the ordinance? Is that what we're needing to
I think
do?
we probably should. Or are you okay with just telling them, if anybody calls to complain, say, hey, come get a sign?
Most cities have it in there, it's to the door-to-door salesman that you will respect no soliciting signs.
Okay.
That's
So
what-
it does
basically-
need to
basically,
end.
that's what the municipal league suggested, was that, they said
Help you.
PD could probably enforce it without it, but it would help with the code violation if it's set in there, that they have to sign saying that they agree, that they will respect those signs, because that's what we've been getting as calls.
And
that-
we have them, and they've been printed by the city, and they've been available at City Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one.
So if we put
And I
that
haven't
in
had
the,
one person at the door
Good.
with the hailstorm, so they work.
so if we put that in the ordinance, the only thing we have to, if we want to raise the rate or in the time, that's the only other two things, right? In that ordinance, basically?
Go ahead, Holmes.
We need to get rid of an ordinance that dates back into 1982 and come up to today's technology. The other thing is, and we hear it, and I'm right there beside Kim, the insanity of people that want to argue about whether or not they need a state license or a license as a contractor, B, that they have a local license, whether it's local offices. You can have, we honor Van Buren, we honor Fort Smith, Greenwood, whoever has a license in that town. And that is the other thing, when you have somebody that they're on the verge of insanity. And the other thing is, right on wanting to put out flyers, and they want to start down or soliciting and papering the town with flyers.
Where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Door to door.
Everywhere, door to door.
I mean, are they sticking it in the mailbox? Are they the guy, I come home from
Stick it in
work.
your
Front
front door.
door.
I got, you know,
Front
there's a
door,
little
front
hook
door.
deal on the front door that says, you know, I'll mow your yard, you know, go
Yeah.
to my website.
Nice of him on the door.
Yeah, they'll
in the
roll
yard.
them up, put them in the door handle.
Right, I've
Yeah.
seen
Under your
that.
windshield wipers on the car, whatever.
Okay.
And
Well, how
that's-
are we gonna handle that?
Hey,
We're gonna have to
you can-
redraw.
You can ban the flyers.
Well, that's the same as soliciting, when you're trying to sell, but I had to look
Yeah,
back
yeah.
at my, I got a legal opinion for the elected officials, and it does not fall under soliciting. It says that door-to-door or soliciting an election are not the same. Soliciting is commercial, meaning it involves selling a product, service, or asking for money. Election canvassing is a non-commercial political activity, and you're protected by the First Amendment is free
Then
speech.
we can I can just stick a
so-
section in there then that makes that
So,
plain and obvious. that
I only
this
heard
is-
bits and pieces of that, so the canvassing does not fall under this.
It's
Right.
not soliciting.
Correct.
Yep, it's not soliciting. You're not selling, you're not
Yeah.
asking for money.
We can put a separate paragraph in there that says that, so it's clear.
Yeah, so
That
they
if
can,
you're running for office, I guess that means, you know, if you're running for county judge, if it just doesn't mean Barling, you know,
Any
ward people,
campaign.
but-
Or any
Yeah, I
campaign,
mean,
yeah.
If you're running for county judge, or you're running for senate, or you're running for the house, doesn't cover that.
we take the calls all day. That's not what the citizens are angry about. I mean, they're mad about.
They're mad at all these
they're mad
roofers and
about
all
the
these people
roofers
calling,
and
yeah. They're not mad at the ward
The
people.
ding, ding people who you tell them you're not interested and they won't leave, and they're not gonna be mad about elected
So
officials.
that brings up another question. All the signage that is stapled up to the
Telephone.
telephone poles.
No, too.
I've got 6 of them across the street.
That's how Ron.
Every corner's got them on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls and I drove around last week and made a list of, I think, close, that there's 22 roofers that have signs in our city right now.
One.
And they don't have business licenses. They don't, I have 7 of them that don't even have a contractor's license through the state of Arkansas. They're not registered with the Secretary of State, so I've been making cold calls, working on that to be like,
Get your sign.
you're gonna be reported and we're removing your signs. Or,
But still
not
don't,
everyone can,
but people that get taken by those folks though,
Exactly.
The what?
the folks that get taken by these roofers and that don't have license and all that, you know, kind of falls back on us, not,
What is our prosecution capability for somebody putting up a sign and advertising their business, no license, no permit? What is the capability to get them, stick it to them, say, pack your gear and go somewhere else?
Well, I think we already have an ordinance on that, don't we, on signage? Where you're allowed to put a sign and for what, and don't we have that already?
Not yard signs.
Not a yard sign,
Like
or
State-
stapling
state's
to a
got-
power pole.
you can't put them,
We don't have anything that talks about garage sales, and it can only be up for this many days, and it can only be up the day before, and it has to come down the day after.
That I believe we do have.
We do
But
have.
Is that going to be the same as a roofer stapling their sign up on a telephone pole?
It's not the same.
They're gonna.
No.
he's
I
advertising his
agree.
business.
One is
And
a
of course, the
purple
city doesn't own the telephone pole, right?
power pole, and the power company doesn't want it either.
Well, then, to me, it's what y'all wanna do. If it's on, if they're nailing it to the power pole, it's owned by the power company, I almost think that's the power company's issue.
It is in our city.
But it is in our city. I get it, we don't own the pole, but that pole's in somebody's yard, if it was in my yard and I didn't want it, I'd be peeling everything off of it. I'd have a flathead screwdriver, I'd be prying up staples every day, taking it off there, but.
Looking at them. Yeah, that's been the issue, is we've been trying to take them off because they're taking advantage of citizens that they're not even registered contractors.
Okay, do we want to include that in this ordinance? Do we want to include door hangers? Because, to me, if I go to Sonic on a Saturday afternoon, I open the door and somebody's been there and hung something on my door, I didn't even know they were there. That doesn't bother me.
But then it blows off into the yards, and then you have trash all
Or
over
it's
the.
rolling. Again, how far do we wanna go? Do we want telephone pole stuff in here? Do we want rolled up paper in your door handle or hooked on your door handle? Or we can do it, it's like I always say, we can do anything we want.
Let's do for the people that are licensed, the ones that we find out that aren't, then let's take it to the level where we need to prosecute them or whatever we need to report them to the state or whatever needs to be.
There's a state law on that, isn't there?
Yeah, and
That's what I thought.
started reporting the ones who don't have contractor
Right.
license to the
Yeah,
state of
so
Arkansas.
we don't have,
And I feel like door hangers are still soliciting, they should still,
I-
you're going
again,
door
that's-
to
yeah.
door to solicit. Whether you're speaking to someone or you're sticking things in their door, I feel like you're still selling, so it should be the same.
If it wasn't for the hailstorm, we probably wouldn't be here arguing about this.
Well, and welcome to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Last year it was.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have storm chasers
Oh, yeah.
every single year here.
I will say this is the worst we've ever had.
Right.
Yeah,
don't know
it's like an avalanche.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I've
why,
never
it's
seen
been
it.
crazy.
Okay,
I don't think there's enough room in the Sebastian County Jail to hold all of it.
all right, so I'm going to include in that, a paragraph exempting political canvassers. Include a paragraph
And we're okay for that.
on political canvassers.
I asked the municipal, I had to look back, 'cause it's been 2 years ago, but I asked the municipal league about that, because that was your question, and they said.
And
that-
we want the definition of solicitation to be any advertising material left at the residence. That counts as solicitation.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Anything where you're going door to door.
The only reason I made the distinction is you're not troubling anybody. You're not ringing the doorbell, you're not banging on the door. It's not, hello, can I tell you about my Lord and Savior today with a Mormon Bible? I mean, it's basically, they're just hooking them on and going, hooking them on and going. It's like how the Boy Scouts show up and hook a bag on your door every year. You know, they put the bag through the deal for your food collection, and the instructions are on there that this is the Boy Scout food drive. That would be banned, frankly. So, you know, with all the bad actors that we're trying to get rid of, it's going, the net is wide enough that it's gonna scoop up people like churches and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and all that too, but I guess that's just the way it goes.
Then you get into, if you do like a variance or something that gets into the thing, well, city approved nonprofits, blah, 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 that would bring you down into another black hole of, you know what I'm
I've set
saying?
up my roofing company as a 501c3.
Right, exactly.
That makes me a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I get to do it. I mean, you know, it's built a better mousetrap. You're
Yeah.
gonna find people that are gonna find a loophole to circumvent it, which, you know, is always my trick. I wanna seal all the loopholes. I don't, but inevitably, again, for every roofer that you ban, you're banning Girl Scouts, you're
They're not
banning
allowed to
Boy
go
Scouts
door
on
to
the
door
food drive.
Girl Scouts can't go door to door anymore. They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I think they
It's
should,
already taken away.
They've taken that
When
away.
it
I know the Boy Scouts do with the bags. You know,
Yeah.
you hang the bag out and you say, it says, hey, next Saturday we'll be by, if you'll put it out by the curb.
I mean, and I don't think anyone's gonna call on them, and they're not gonna get complaints, so it's not gonna matter, I don't think, as far as.
Well, it's always viewpoint based. I don't mind these people coming to my door, but I don't want these people coming to my door. Well, you can't write an ordinance like that. That's so hard to enforce that,
And
you
the
know.
churches are already protected, cause they have a different.
Yeah, you know, these people are in the goat pen and these people are in the sheep
so,
pen.
so if it's in the public right of way, let's talk about the yard signs just real quick. So if it's in the public right of way, wouldn't a time limit be more apt to happen? Like you have 30, kind of like, political signs. You got 30 days and it's gotta be gone after the 30 days.
Okay,
Something like that, but if it's on a private property and they're advertising for that guy, then, I mean, who, you know what I'm saying? We get into that little argument.
It's in your yard, you
wait a minute, wait a minute.
I mean, it's all
Okay,
people's yards,
all
and
the
nobody's
streets.
gonna advertise on city property, cause we can't allow anyone to advertise on our stuff at all. So, I mean, it's all private residents. They put them all down H Street on the way to the park. And I removed a bunch of them that weren't legal contractors, and then they just filled them back up.
Here's the
They
thing,
put 'em-
Megan's right. All the streets that are state highways, you can't put a sign in the highway right of way.
Has to be behind the telephone pole.
It has to be behind the pole or behind the state monuments. And it's not just at every intersection where you think it's up close. That intersection, and the state owns back further. And I assure you, at the sign shop out here, the highway department has a collection of real estate signs. They have a sign,
They
signs
got a
of-
bunch of mine too.
they got them all, and if you put it out there, you can kiss it goodbye. And that ought to be the same attitude of signs that are blocking traffic ways, and signs that, Joe and I looked at one today that is a permanent sign. It is on the verge, it's right on the property line there. And if you don't, if you're not in a pickup or a substantial vehicle like a SUV, you can't see over it. And this is one of the things that concerns me about signs and somebody whipping up a sign and you get blindsided or T-boned.
Got one right down here at the realty place, right here at the Riverstone Realty there.
Betcha. That's the other thing, is you can't get into, if you can't get on the state right of way, why should you be able to get on the city right of way for the same thing? Why should you be able to get on the street, city street right of way? If the state has a rule, you can't get on theirs.
Well,
Because,
I
you
don't
know,
think you should be. I mean, we've totally jumped tracks to another area.
but that's the sign business.
Well, I understand. I was more talking about door-to-door sales and canvassing and all that, and now we're into, can you put a sign in the city right away? Again, if you want to include that in here, we can. That's just why I brought this up, because this thing is so amorphous. What do you wanna cover?
Well, you're not gonna stop everybody, but we have to have something, because we've had so many of them call us on it right now, we can't enforce anything. And we have citizens calling really upset, and some of the contractors know better. I mean, they're like, your ordinance doesn't say we can't.
Couldn't you do from the meter to the street? Isn't that,
That's city right away.
that's what I'm saying, from your water meter to the street is right away there.
Well, it's an easement.
Well,
I mean,
whatever.
the city doesn't own that.
Yes,
Well, how?
they do too. It's the easement that's not owned by the city. A right of way is owned by the town.
Right, no, I'm talking about, he's talking about between the meter and, I get, he's talking
From the
about,
water meter to the street.
right, at a private residence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really not the problem, it's private
the
residence.
city doesn't own
Yeah, that
that
would be,
property. They
yeah,
have
that
an
would fall under
easement.
the
They can go in there to do
property owner.
water lines, but you can't tell somebody that they can't put that in their yard right up against the curb. I
They
mean,
do.
If it gets in the city's way, the city has every right to pull it up. It's like if you build a fence in the city's easement, if they need to work on a sewer line, they can drive over the fence with a bulldozer. You're in the city's right of way. The city doesn't own that property. That's the homeowner's property right up to the curb.
No. No.
Okay, I mean, we differ. Okay, that's your opinion.
And no, it's not. That's the state law.
Okay?
And
Then why doesn't the city mow it?
because that's part of the state law. That's exactly.
If
An
the city is
easement-
tying somebody's hands that they can't use that piece of property without
You can't
having a
encumber the
problem. Let me
property.
finish. You can tell them that they can't do anything with it, but yet they have to maintain it, and they have to pay taxes on it.
Yes,
Yep, that's how it goes out here.
yeah, that's
Out
it.
here.
That's the way it is.
Merry Christmas.
That is the way it is. And anybody that's ever been through CE and had to go to court and testify will tell you in the deal that the right-of-way belongs to the town. When a developer gets through building a subdivision, they dedicate the right-of-way and the pavement to the town or to the city. An easement is the property that you own, but the easement allows a utility or a town to construct drainage or to put in utility lines, and they have the ability to do it, and you still own it, and you pay taxes on it.
That's fine, but they don't tell you what you can do with it as long as
Yeah,
you give them
but
access to the
As long as you
utility.
have access, and
As long
if
as you
you
give them
block,
access.
and if you block access on an easement, they have the right, as John said, to take a bulldozer and knock the fence down and go right through there.
I'm the one that said that, and yes, that is an accurate statement of the law.
But these,
You can't
I think you're talking about temporary we're talking about temporary signs, and
agree. Well, you're not gonna make somebody go, well, your sign in your front yard is too close to the curb. You're gonna have to move that back into the heart of your yard.
that's when we start getting
No,
into
they're
the
not gonna- they're
homeowners
not gonna
association
be-
stuff, and I don't want to be in that
Pick it up and
business.
haul it off. It's like the state does.
Doesn't bother you.
That's what the state does. They just come by.
I don't wanna
pick
be
'em up, load 'em
HOA.
up, take them out here. dump 'em.
All right, let's get back on track here real quick. I really think we need to just focus on the time, the amount, and the addition of the sign, of the city-approved sign to keep people from soliciting. I think those are the three key things.
I think that would be wise, I think. I mean, otherwise,
And then
again,
putting-
we could-
and of
we had a
course-
whole special session on this. You could
And-
talk on
and-
this for 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
about what you
Days.
wanna do.
And of course, the political guys getting ready to get signatures.
That's what we voted on.
Those are the four things I think we need to focus on. I don't know, you guys.
And
chime
I
in.
will define that to include, again, because it's been silent on what is actually considered with the door hangers and the rolled up flyers in the door, things like that. And I'll even stick it in there that you are not allowed, unless it's the property owner that allows you, to put up a Foster roofing sign in your front yard. You just can't go around sticking up signs unless you have the express written consent of the homeowner. How about that?
That's fine. We've had some homeowners call and say people put signs in their yards, and I'm like, well, throw them away. And they're like, okay.
That's what I
is it
do.
okay? I'm like, yeah, throw them away. And they're
Where
like,
where I
okay.
live, where my backyard is on 74th Street, we allow some people running for office to put a sign back there. Well, then there'll be 6 back there. I'll go ask my wife, did you offer? No, people just put signs up there. So she marches down, she grabs them, she folds them in half and sticks them in the trash. And they go, where's my sign? She goes, I threw it out. Well, you can't do that. Sure I can. It's in my yard. Well, I just thought that was for everybody. Huh? I thought wrong.
My yard.
It's my yard.
All right,
So
one
we
of
have
the,
this at the next board meeting.
how about I get a motion, to table the consideration of ordinance number 532? Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Amen.
All those opposed? All right, there we go. We'll table that to the next meeting. All right, department.
It'll be ready, and I'm gonna narrowly tailor it to time, price, who's covered. I'll put the waiver in there for political canvassers, signage only with the express written consent of the property owner. And that we are defining canvassing, whether you knock on the door, ring the doorbell or not. That includes door hangers, that includes rolled up things stuck in the door, whatever. We've all got them, you know. Okay.
Petitioners would be the same thing as political, yeah? Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Making sure.
All right. I agree. I think we should limit it to that. Otherwise, it'll turn into 454. You know, it'll be 75 pages long.
Turn into a not 4-hour meeting like a city to the west of us. We don't want that to happen. So, all right, let's go to department head reports. How about Joe? Joe, you're up to bat.
For the month, we had pretty much equal violations, animals plus, grass violations that we've been having. The one thing of importance is that probably tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and finalize the bid notice to go into the newspaper for the house that burned down on E Street. We're 2 weeks out from the 30-day notice on that. We like to post that at least 2 weeks. So we're going to get that moving really quickly, so when that time runs out, we can move on that. That's all I have.
Any questions for Joe? No? Matt, how's everybody in Public Works?
Lots of mowing, getting the park ready for the 4th of July, cleaning up the trees, tree stumps,
Got them goats rounded up down there.
and lots of goats.
Lots of goats.
Do we have an idea where the fireworks are going to take place?
On the
They're
back
back side of the, park.
At the northwest corner, kinda, sorta?
Yes.
Matt, have we thought any more about parking?
That's the Megan thing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we,
What is it? I'm sorry.
Megan, parking for the park for the 3rd of July. Have we thought about that anymore?
Yes, I don't think we're gonna lose parking this year. Where we're setting off the fireworks is a portion in the back that was never being used, so we're still getting to use the same as last year. We'll use to the back of Cantera Park that's still available. We'll also have all those new roads and additions in Cantera Park. I think that'll be nice paved area. And then, I don't think we'll lose any at all. I actually think we're gonna gain a little bit this year, for one more year. I think next year we may have to figure something else out, but I think we'll be good for this year, so.
Is there gonna be valet parking
Yeah.
for a nominal fee, I'm guessing?
Use your scooter.
All righty. Tommy, what's up? How's everything in the fire department?
Oh, it's good. In the month of April, we had 4 fires, 60 medical, 16 public service calls for a total of 75. Average response time was 2 minutes, 2 seconds. 2 calls at once. We ran, one time, 2 runs. Out of city, we responded once on the medical to Central City, once on the medical to Lavaca, and Lavaca canceled us. April, the crews completed hydrant testing. We've received all the supplies to teach CPR now, so we're ready to start teaching. Children's Hospital will be delivering the supplies free of charge for us to put on our first child safety seat installation event. So we're fixing that'll come up they'll be delivering that Monday. So we'll set that up pretty quick, maybe around the July 3rd event. The ladder truck is finished. We're just waiting on delivery information. They're trying to find a truck big enough to ship it. And last week, I was voted in as a second term for the president of the Fire Association for the county, and that will also mean a second term on Sebastian County's 911 board. So we get another year of insider information.
Good deal. Any questions for Tommy? Tommy, I did have somebody, we need to recognize Dax Brown. I got an email, and I'll get with you after the meeting how we can do that. Really nice email, by the way, so we'll do that, we'll discuss on that. Chief, how's everything in the police department?
Things running as it should. We're still, running the seatbelt, mobilization program through the 31st. So you still see an uptick in, patrol. But other than that, everything's all right.
Any questions for Chief Fuller? Nope. All right. Steve, take it away. It's all yours.
The bad news. Bad news is, and it's not bad news, we're actually doing better. We've been going through all the meter data, all the water rate studies, everything we've looked at, and money. Basically, the water rate is going to be a big change in terms of how we think. And the initial year will be a $25 increase in order to fulfill the state requirements. We have been keeping 2% retainage for repair and maintenance. Their requirement now is 5%, so that's part of that money. The initial rate increase is going to be about 25%. Then the remainder years, we're looking at 5% per year. That's about inflation rate. Now, let me tell you, one of the things that we've come to is we've got to have, we have some doubts about information we get. So we're going to put going out for meter in manholes, for 3 manholes that we take input from. Sewage that we get paid for 75% of the Fort Smith collection for the rates out here for the water that they sell out on Chaffee. Unfortunately, it's their water. We don't know for sure, but one way to solve this issue is put in a sensory meter in the sewage where it goes into our line. Therefore, we know how much we're treating. The other thing is, looking at this, we have a positive benefit from the lagoons in that that's one of the absorbers any cost increase because lagoons outside of the pumps don't have to have any mechanical aid or any supporting pumps and plumbing. The other thing is we had looked at how and what we've got to have in the future. What Cliff Cabanis talked about in his development, we know right now that there's a number, and it's, everybody in the financial things calls them CIP, that's the increase or the implementation of construction for your plant. Across Cliff Cabanis's new addition, we have seen a need to connect an additional water line, and there's space to do it from east to west and tie Painter Lane all the way across to Strozier Lane. Another thing that in this money that we're talking about, we know that we're going to have to do a water line replacement in the future from one of the ancient water lines that's on 22nd Street. We know it starts at 22 Highway and goes up to where we have put the new line in at Moody Road. So we know when you say, well, how are we getting this? Well, that's the way. The other thing that goes in is everybody thinks about how you're gonna fund this. One, we have always funded, self-funded, except for the bonding. We will be bonded through, I believe it's 2030 on our payout for the previous bond issue. You can do two things. You can pay as you go, which is a terribly slow way, or you can do SRF, which you go into the state revolving fund, hope you get matching or grant money, or you can do it in bonds, which is paid out of your revenue. We've never used in my time here, and I don't think before, the state revolving fund. They've always used bonds, they've always been to pay as you go. If we stage the improvements that we need in sequence, and this is something that makes more sense. If you talked about Cliff, what he said about the sequential of 5 units, and then 5 units, and then 5 units. You have to do the same thing with water lines, utility connections, sewer lines. All the other things we have to have, when you do that, you should do it so that you, A, can find a workforce to do the work that you need done by contract. And the other thing is, you don't have to bust the rate structure out of sight. You take the bitter pill at the front end, and then you take the maintenance as you go out into the future. And I will tell you that it looks like the work we're gonna have, because you saw how many people are coming in Cabanis's projects. Probably 10 years out is the time that we'll need to phase the projects that need to be done. We looked at the mapping. You all saw the mapping we had of where we need specific items done. One of them into the future will be the water tower. We know that. The way to do this is to do it the right way, and do it sequentially and financially in sequence so that you can handle the money and get it right the first time. When we hear this, and you hear this, you'll be hearing when have a detailed presentation of this, but I wanted to get you all up to speed to know that there's something there. The other thing we looked at, we've looked at the surrounding cities. 2 of them have already took off and raised their rates. But we're looking at no rates any greater than any surrounding city. And that's the way it makes sense. You don't want to go tearing off and give away the fortune, but you also are not in the position where you're going to rip off the citizens that are here. You've got to do that and think about it. The other things are how you have a workforce, and how you have a workforce in town that is your residents, and the ability of the residents to handle the cost. There's no free lunch. There's no free lunch, period. So you might as well make up your mind in your heart of hearts that it's gonna happen. The other thing is that you realize that this is a purchased water system. We are, in our mercies, at the mercy of Fort Smith and what we can negotiate and what happens. And we're not the only ones, because tonight they're going around too with Arcoma and the sewer system at their meeting. I want you to know that we don't take this lying down or at anything. We had a detailed discussion this morning about the sequential needs, And there's about a 25 project list into a 10-year future, of things we know we will need. So it's like climbing a ladder. You're not gonna leap to the top at one time. You're gonna have to bite the bullet. Now, I won't tell you the good part. The good news is the auditors are through with us. The better news is that there are, what we've been briefed, Megan's been briefed by them, and I have sat here and heard, and Flo has been here. Ryan's been here. We had no answers, okay? This is the fourth year in a row, no answerables.
4 or 5 with no findings.
This doesn't happen very often. If you, the support we've got from you all as board, people in the town, lets you manage your money and not do dumb things. And if you haven't, and I'm not picking on any town, but if you haven't seen in the paper and the comments on Talk Business and Politics, the city of Ozark went out for a fire truck. And they got culture shock, wouldn't quit. And if you've not read that article this week about that, and the mayor down there, they went out and looked and they picked one of a kind, and I don't know how long they canvassed for it. But Ozark is less people than here, and they got a shock of $1 million plus. And that's a shock. But the big news is for us is we have had the water audit, and we got through that. We've now had the legislative audit where they come out and check everything that you've ever done. If you've not had 2 months of pitching with 2 infields, you missed something. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Steve? Nope.
So,
Yep, go
I
ahead.
do have one. So this $25 increase that people are gonna start seeing on the water bill.
When,
Do you have
the
a
board,
projected time?
probably it needs to start yesterday.
No, I think you have to start it by January 2027. I think that's what he'll present with us tomorrow, whether we want to do it mid-year or start at the new year. Or, and it's not 100% 25. That's like the average bill will be about 20, it's 25% increase on water and sewer. That's not sanitation or anything, or any of your other fees.
So
But
that extra 25% is going to fund what?
Water and sewer.
Take care of water increase, maintenance on the system, and future construction needs.
All right, any other questions? Nope. Does anybody have any announcements? Anybody from the public like to talk about anything? Mr. Ron, would you do the honors?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Folks, we are adjourned. Everybody have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you.
That ain't better than taking a break.
Ho, ho, ho.